hour.
Welcome to the Cloud Native Coffee Hour. My name is Dan McCracken, and with me are my co-hosts and companions, Dan Makita and Sam Delamarter. And today we have massive content. The topic is the KubeCon wrap-up.
So starting out, we're looking forward to the OpenShift Commons gathering because they had a virtual option for that. So none of us actually went in person, even though it was in our own state circumstances. We didn't go. But we were pretty pumped for that. And they used a different streaming platform, and it was just awful. And I couldn't watch any of it, essentially. So that was a big bummer. I know, I don't have the link up, but I know they do sometimes post their Commons gatherings videos because they do those throughout the year. And, you know, this was just a co-located event at KubeCon. But it was definitely a bummer. That was probably the worst part. Yeah, you hate to see it.
That's why Makita doesn't update Electron Capture. The less things you change, you just add risk.
Sure. Yeah, streaming is hard.
Streaming is kind of hard.
That is the one event that I would have liked to attend.
Yeah.
We went to it in person 4 years ago.
Yep.
Something like that, yeah.
And it was the best part of all of KubeCon. Like, it was even before KubeCon started. They had like the best food, the best presentations. They had tons of they're not white papers. What are they called? Where they actually had like big customers that use their product come up on stage and talk about their use case and the problems that they had implementing it and stuff. It was really raw and it was really helpful.
Yeah.
It was really helpful because, you know, you go to all the KubeCon stuff and it's more about the technology. Whereas this was more about the application of the technology. It was awesome.
Right.
Right. And a big thing was, you know, we were very much in it 4 years ago, right? Like we were, you know, doing an OpenShift transformation at that time. Whereas, yeah, the rest of the stuff that you go to KubeCon and see, it's like, oh, that's awesome. I would love to do that. Not going to be able to do it, you know, at any of our clients because they're not going to, you know, be that willing. But, you know, maybe 5 years down the road, I'll get to do that. So OpenShift is always super practical and yeah.
Yeah, I remember from that Commons, it was 2018 in Seattle, I think, that we went to. And like all the lead engineers that work on those products that were like actively writing the scripts to do those new installations, they were there talking, and it was just it was pretty approachable. And so, and it feels like Red Hat has been able to maintain that customer focus and that open source feel even through the IBM acquisition. So pretty good. I'll switch us over to screen share and see if you want to take us through.
Sure. I was just going to say, honestly, there's not a lot to show. So yeah, I mean, I will say the virtual pass is worth it for the people that, you know, can't go in person. For $75, you get everything. You get all the events. And like, I mean, I'll show it off. Are you sharing my screen now? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I mean, I'll zoom in a little bit. This is behind the scenes. This is the virtual event platform. And I like it. They've used the same platform a couple years now. So like you do get a solution showcase. So this is kind of like the big room with everybody. And so, I mean, you can click, and I do think like, you know, this is something that we could do. I know we've talked about sponsoring at some level. This is kind of what you get. Like you get just a page where there's chat and there's, you know, you get to write whatever you want and then have some buttons. You get a video. Obviously, it's not the same as actually having an exhibition hall and like being able to interact with those people. I mean, that's really cool. But there are giveaways and all that kind of stuff if that's what is important to you as far as conferences go. But it is different. Yeah. So honestly,
Do you get any swag?
That's the real question.
I think yes. I think there are at least certain vendors that will like mail you swag
What about the conference shirt?
if you really want that.
autographed shirt.
I don't think so. That would be really cool. That's probably some good feedback. But yeah, for $75, you get access to all these now.
For $75, I want the shirt and mug, Sam.
That's fair. All the videos get posted in a month, so all the sessions are going to be free for everyone.
Okay.
And you can get access to the like keynotes for free if you sign up for a free virtual pass, whatever. But yeah.
Speaking of the keynotes, one of my favorite parts that I did miss this year, maybe you can remind me, or maybe we can just look it up. I don't mean this to be a Grill Sam session. Are all of the different the changes in CNCF incubation to graduation to blah blah blah, sandboxing to incubating, all that stuff. That to me really, I look forward to it because that kind of tells us the trends on where CNCF is focusing and where a lot of the energy is in the open source community.
Yeah, I do think they highlight that, I guess. So I mean, and this is, not everybody gets this, but we get the marketing meetings every month. So I honestly haven't attended in a long time, but I go through the slides. So seeing those transitions and then the acquisitions of different companies is always kind of cool. So I always see those there. So I don't know. I don't remember if there was anything big. But yeah, they usually announce that kind of stuff. If there's any big projects that have graduated.
Roger. We probably can't play the video that is the CNCF roundup or whatever it is.
Right? Whatever. It's fine. Yeah. So whatever. They also use Sketch, but there's like a schedule builder in here too. But this is what we've used in the past, like in person too, to kind of build up, look at the talks that you might want to go to and build this. I always use it too to kind of come back. Cause there's going to be time slots where you're like, oh, I want to go to multiple of them. So I kind of use it just as bookmarks to know what to go and look back to once all these are uploaded to YouTube. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can probably drop that in chat or something later. Yeah, I think the biggest things that came out, well, one, quick plug. If you're following our LinkedIn, you would see that I already posted a lot of these things. But the biggest takeaways, I guess, they were really focused on like community involvement, both like highlighting all the contributors and maintainers, and like they had a bunch of new awards and stuff. Like I think they did that last year when we went. Yeah. But they did a lot more of that. Like that was, I would say, even more of a focus from the previous year. And then also just getting more contributors into the space. So just continuing trying to make it easier for people to get involved. There were some, a lot of the keynotes were kind of focused on that. And then I know I didn't bring it up, but contribute.cncf.io. They have a whole new website that they kind of just walk you through how to get started and whatnot.
Really?
So that's another cool resource. Just generically, how do you get started as a contributor to one of the projects?
That's cool.
Yeah.
How's this work? I didn't know about this.
Just click.
Is this the one like?
Is
this like the one that you did where you're like creating a, definitions for things and then getting contributor status, which is massive, by the way. Kudos to you.
Kinda. So the glossary is one thing that I've done to contribute. And this site looks amazing compared to where it was at the start.
Love the glossary.
Yeah. So, and that is one thing they definitely try to highlight. Like, you don't just have to be a developer. I think there was kind of that stigma of like, you know, how do you contribute? Like it's all, and a lot of it is GitHub, but like there's so much help needed as far as, you know, communication, writing, translations. There's a lot you can do without being a developer, or if you're a developer and you just don't have that time or, you know, the mind space to be able to do that. Some of these are, you know, really good options to get involved. But yeah, it does look like they kind of provide some of the definitions and yeah, go over what options you have for getting involved, which is cool.
That's really interesting. Yeah, it feels like, you know, the normal path is, hey, I'm at a company, and you know, I use Nginx or whatever. Like, I think Nginx is kind of an old example, but I use Nginx, and my company's so big brain that I need to fork Nginx, and I need to like modify it to get more performance, or to get it to work exactly the way that my business use case requires. And slowly those types of people coalesce around, that's a $5 word, coalesce around the project, and then just kind of naturally become maintainers. But this is more of a, hey, you don't necessarily have to be one of those people, because those are few, you know, there's very few of those, and we want lots of eyes, we want lots of energy. This is a way to get involved and get talking and kind of grease the wheels, keep things moving, you know, release new code, that kind of stuff. I like it. I like that. You know, and I'm sure the people that, you know, those developers really like having more people to help push things along.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a CNCF push.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Like that. I mean, that's got to be such a blessing for all those projects. Like that's, you know, time and effort that they don't have to focus on doing the marketing, doing the recruiting and all that. And, you know, they're getting quality contributors because of it. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So, and I do like, that's one thing that I think I kind of noticed. Like, it does seem like a lot of the projects are like, I mean, you can see that the list of graduated projects is getting longer and longer. Like, you know, just a few years ago, it was, I don't know, not even half that or whatever. I do think it's getting easier to have like a really good quality cluster. I think there's still plenty of opportunity to over architect it and make it super complex and be more than what you need. But for, you know, a lot of people, a lot of organizations, like it's a lot easier to do really well with Kubernetes. I don't know. It's just cool.
Let's see. I'm just doing a quick search of things that graduated. Spiffy and Spire. Completely graduated. Oh, they graduated from Cloud Native Computing Foundation Incubator. Yeah, okay. So they went from incubation to graduated projects. And there are only 16 graduated projects. So I'm sure they talked a lot about that.
Yeah.
Key management. Yeah, we need that. We need that stuff. Rogue Prometheus, Linkerd, Jaegerhelm, Harbor. We got to revisit Harbor.
Argo still incubating.
Harbor, I've been seeing a lot of news about Harbor. I really do want to check that out again. There's just so many. No, there's just so many alternatives to it. I mean, I love the idea of it, but you have to host it yourself. It's like choosing GitLab over GitHub. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think GitLab has a hosted solution, but regardless.
Zach in the chat. Hey, Zach. Just posted that Istio is finally in incubating. Istio.
It's true.
Really?
Yeah. Thanks, Google.
Oh, you know what? Oddly, with Istio, I was so disappointed that they didn't initially give it to the CNCF. Familiar with that. And I think I missed when that transition actually ended up happening. But I'm really happy it is with the CNCF. It makes sense.
If they want adoption, it needs to be there. Yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
if
So
Red
there,
Hat,
there was definitely talk about that.
yeah, cool.
Yeah. And another thing kind of along the service mesh lines, the gateway API, which is for ingress, right? So they're standardizing ingress, but they are looking to kind of expand that to kind of cover some of the service mesh objects and definitions, so that you could, in the same way that you can just say, I have an ingress, and then, you can have the Nginx ingress controller, and it would just pick that up. So it's agnostic from Nginx. You'll be able to have provider agnostic service mesh objects. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Okay.
Just another thing where it's like just making it easier to do some of those more complex things, right? Because if the documentation is just on Kubernetes docs, and it's the same whether you want to choose this or that or whatever, and there's probably still going to be some extensions of it, but just more standardization, more, it's just more approachable.
Zach comments too. He thought Microsoft was going to kind of take the default service mesh spot with Open Service Mesh OSM, which I've never really heard of. But very.
I have not heard of that.
No, I have to look that up.
Yeah, I can't
I'll
remember.
have to look at OSM. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that.
I can't remember what cloud, but they just adopted Cilium, the eBPF service mesh. It's got the little B logo.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's Bill Mulligan works there now for Isovalent. So Isovalent is the main developer of Cilium. But Bill Mulligan was on the CNCF like marketing and like relations teams or whatever. So I don't know if we ever talked to him directly, but yeah, we interacted with him a lot.
Cool name. Okay. Okay.
So really, I know I don't have a ton of time.
No, you're fine.
The talks that got me most excited, and I would, love to talk more about, maybe aren't the ones that you guys would want to talk more about, but all the security ones, that was another huge track. This year again is all the supply chain security. Really cool stuff. Salsa Fresca.
I have a question on
Guac.
that.
Go for it.
I don't know. I feel like I'm moving into a different space in my personal career when it comes to cloud native, in that I care less about like the individual technologies and more about like the industry trends. And last year or maybe it was the year before, I don't know. They rolled out the CKS, right? And security was just like, it was the thing. It was the focus. And the other part of the messaging that year was Kubernetes is boring. It's a commodity, right? We're gonna build on top of Kubernetes now. Kubernetes itself, we're just gonna leverage it now. What was your feeling having attended the event? Where is security now? Is it now a commodity, or is it still the focus? And what's next? Like, what was the big thing? What was the kind of like the feeling of the trajectory of the space, in your opinion?
I think whether it's a commodity yet or not, it's definitely a huge focus. Projects like Spiffy Spire, and then so Salsa is it's levels. So it's supply chain levels for software artifacts. So it's literally just a spec, basically, like SOC compliance for server admins. It's that compliance specification for your build and deploy pipelines. So there is a lot of momentum along the high level work that needs to be done. I think the actual tools and stuff, which can be like the what gets overhyped or, whatever. I think those are getting easier. So salsa fresca, I'd have to, if
No,
you
it means
Google
fresh
it,
salsa.
yes.
Sam.
But if you Google it, yeah, you literally just get recipes for salsa.
Duh.
So you got to put in Cloud Native or CNCF or something like that to find it.
Okay.
So that project, Salsa Fresca, is a project that makes it easy to bootstrap yourself into a certain level of salsa. So, I think things like that, where it's like, it's kind of compiling a few different tools together and giving you a quick, easy way to install it. Stuff like that is going to make it probably less exciting and more boring, right? Because it's just like, well, I don't have to figure everything out anymore. I just I don't know, Salsa Fresca install, and it gets me pretty far. I don't know if that answers your question directly, but that's kind of the things that I saw. And then also guac. I don't remember the exact
We gotta get off this
acronym.
condiment theme. Come on, man.
It's great. I love
Come
it
on,
because
man.
it's not just the Kubernetes naval theme.
The
But guac-
nautical theme.
Nautical, yes, thank
Naval. It's not your belly button.
you. Definitely not that.
Got him.
Yeah, so that's a project that I don't know exactly. Like I don't know if it's a CNCF project yet, because Google is a big backer of it. But that's another thing. So Google is going to have a self-hosted guac instance, whatever. It basically just lets you visualize a graph of dependencies. It pulls in the SBOMs, so the software bill of material, and then highlights any vulnerabilities and lets you kind of explore in that way and check that what image you have deployed might be pulling in through third-party plugins, apps, whatever. So I don't know, lots of cool stuff.
We should play around with that. That sounds new and fun.
Very cool. Did anybody in the chat attend any of the virtual KubeCon or in person? Kind of curious about that. We'll let that come in. What else?
Let that simmer.
Let that simmer.
I definitely think multi-cluster was less of a thing. If you remember,
It's
in
interesting.
LA, it was like
That was
That was a big thing. They had like a what do they call groups again?
the birds of a feather. Is that what you mean? What are you talking about?
Oh, the groups that actually like SWAT teams or whatever.
Stigs?
SIGs. Thank you. Yes, they had a whole SIG about it, right? Didn't we go to that?
Yeah, Sigger working group. I can't remember what. Yeah, but yes, yeah, and I think there is some there were like some overhyped, tools where it's like, most people don't need multi-cloud, multi-region. There are some really cool tools that help you do that. But I do think like multi-cluster doesn't have to be all of that. So I think when you talk about multi-cluster, just thinking at where we're at, it's like, well, if you have a dev test prod, you have multiple clusters, right? So the tooling around just managing that. So, Argo and GitOps, still a huge thing. It just didn't seem as crazy as last year.
yeah.
And wasn't there like multi-cluster stuff? It wasn't just the type of commodities that like Rancher and OpenShift give you, where you can just, view all of your stuff in one dashboard. It was more like Big Brain, where you could have different nodes and different clouds and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right. Yeah. Like some cool, crazy networking and like automated failovers. Like if you have your US region and your Europe region and the US, like a cool stuff, but for a lot of places, not necessary.
Right.
Cool. Awesome. Yep. Make sure to follow us on. We should probably put a LinkedIn note out there, shouldn't we? We should probably get that in our Discord or something.
That would be good. Yeah.
That would be really good to follow us there because, yeah, we've been lighting up the posts and lots of good stuff. I appreciate everybody coming out today, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. And we will talk to you next week on the Cloud Native Coffee Hour. Bye-bye.